This is the voice of the New York Football Giants, Bob Papa, and you are listening to the best throughout Europe, the Big Blue UK and Ireland podcast.
Welcome back, Giants fans, to the latest edition of the Big Blue UK and Ireland podcast, proudly, as always, in association with Andy's Man Club lads. Remember, it's okay to talk. In this episode, we are 75% British, 25% Irish, but 100% Giants. It feels like it's been a while since I've had to say 75-25 and seen four people on the screen. But it's nice to have everyone back for a little pre-Christmas get-together. Unfortunately, Dan is unavailable, but you do have us four. Like I just kind of alluded to, it's Christmas week here at Big Blue UK and Ireland, and the rough season continues with a lump of coal in the stocking from the Giants. But we're here anyway because suffering loves a bit of company. I'm here with Kev, Shane and Aaron to kind of give you a bit of a double helping of therapy as we're going to do a little bit of a review, a bit of a preview. I'm going to ask the lads a few questions that Dan and myself covered last week because I think that the topics are still relevant. But yeah, we've got a lot to get through, so we'll fire through. But lads, how are we doing?
Yeah, all good. I can't remember when I was last on, but obviously different things change when you're not on for a few weeks. Like, you know, the guys that you're on with change and the listeners and the viewers change, but the Giants are still fucking shit. That's the one consistency.
Wow, straight out of the blocks. Straight out of the blocks with the F-bombs and stuff.
Mr. Optimistic, tell me I'm wrong.
I can't. Oh my God, lads. I have, like I said, like you, I haven't been on for a couple of weeks now, and oh my God, to say it's been a hard watch has been a massive, massive understatement. But and one thing, like I know I've said it before, like doing this has been massive because the last 2 weeks I haven't been on, and it's been hard, like to make my. And I've been, because with everything going on, you're busy, and I haven't been able to watch the games live. So to go back and rewatch the games after you know the score. It's just such a real sort of like, it's hard, like it's proper hard, but like not, you know, at least I know when I'm on with you boys, I get to have a bit of therapy. I get to, okay, I'll watch the game and then I'll get to vent. Whereas my missus doesn't want to hear me, but she's a suffering Tottenham fan. So she doesn't want to hear me going on about the Giants. Like, so, you know, so like getting back on here with you boys, you know, we've got stuff to talk about. You know, I get to vent, I get to get my frustrations out. And I was out with a friend there the other night who's a Seahawks fan, and bless him, I unloaded onto him all the frustrations, and I went to Seahawks Giants with him just there last season, which again happens to be our last away win. Was like last year, November, October last year against Seattle. It's just poor fella, he got the brunt of it. But hey, I'm back on with you boys and the people watching and listening. And I get to do it with you now, so you know, that's a little bit better.
Yeah, so on the precipice, Giants football went 100 years without ever losing 10 games in a row. We achieved that last season. We achieved first time ever we lost 10 games in a row. And here we are 1 year later, 1 in 100 event, 1 year later, we're on the precipice of 10 losses in a row. We haven't had back-to-back wins in over 2 years. December 2023 was the last time we had early December 2023 was the last time we had 2 wins in a row. I've never had the experience on this podcast of celebrating back-to-back wins. I'm not sure there's another fan base in the country.
I didn't think you could make me any more depressed, but fucking bravo.
I could see Shane like breaking inside as Aaron continued talking then. I think Keith might have summed it up quite well. 75% British, 25% Irish, 100% depressed.
I mean, that's nail on the head stuff, that is.
Shay, would you rather have another tooth out or watch the game from Sunday?
I'll fucking take as many teeth as you want.
Shins off to Turkey.
What a start. What a start. Obviously, if you're watching this on YouTube, X or Facebook, get involved in the comments, like this video, subscribe if you aren't already, hit the notification bell. Give us 5 stars because, you know, there's nothing like supporting us as we continue to deliver a product, unlike certain other podcasts, despite the fact that we are notoriously bad year in, year out. I think I just saw Shane's soul leave his body. It is getting
getting close.
It's getting close. Obviously, this is a review and preview podcast, so we'll start off with the review, but feel free at any point during this evening to get your predictions in the comments ready for later. We will be doing our predictions. I know it seems horrifically early with 6 days, should I say, to go until the game. But what's going to change? Let's be honest. I'm sure we can call it now. Let's start with the review of yesterday. So, if I said to you, the Giants suffer defeat once again in a game riddled with the mistakes, penalties, and injuries, am I talking about Sunday's game, or am I talking about any number of games under Joe Shane in the last few years? Like, could I literally just be copy pasting this from week to week and just saying it on the podcast?
Copy pasting the cheat sheet from 3 years ago.
I mean, you're not wrong, really, are you? You're really not wrong there. This time, obviously, it was a 16-13 loss to the Vikings, in which Dart had his toughest outing in his career, I would say, quite easily. I mean, if you look at the stat sheet, like it says 7 of 13 for 33 net yards. I think it was 48 yards in total, but obviously it's not good viewing. He wasn't helped by the run heavy play calling. I know Aaron and myself had a little text conversation about that sort of yesterday about how it started, and you kind of hope that what they were doing, and I know Kev, you've alluded to this before, but like keeping teams humble. So you run on them a little bit to try and open up the passing game, and you try and take advantage of that later down the stretch. But the Giants just didn't do that for some reason. They just stuck with the running game, and it was run or nothing really, which didn't help Dart, I don't think. Brian Flores' defense were a Brian Flores defense. Pressures, different looks, you know, schematically. They sacked Dart multiple times. They had the tipped interception as well of him. So they never allowed him to find a rhythm. It didn't happen for Dart yesterday offensively. He was let down, I think, by a few of his receivers. Slayton had a drop. I know that. I think Theo had a drop. Was the tipped interception off Theo as well, if I'm remembering correctly? So, you know, he really is not being helped. The run game itself, actually, despite the fact that we just continue to pound the ball regardless of what was going on in the game, we actually ran the ball quite well yesterday. I think it was probably one of our better outputs. It's just it was one-dimensional by a point, and although the Vikings weren't exactly handling it very well, we should have kept them humble in other ways. Defensively, not too bad. I wouldn't say. Tyler Lubin obviously got that touchdown after the Brian Burns strip sack. Paulson Adebo got an interception, which is one of the weirder interceptions I've seen for a while. I think just ripped it away, really, and was very, very close to the sideline. It could have been better, obviously. Carter, who had another good game. He had himself a sack, and I think, Aaron, you said a few pressures as well on the stat sheet, but he obviously lined up offside in the pick six that wasn't, I guess we can call it, by Holland, which is it's a shame because as somebody whose bold prediction was lots of interceptions and a couple of pick sixes, and we haven't had one so far this season, it would have been nice. Obviously, it would have probably changed the the reflection of the game quite heavily, but there we go. The Giants did keep the Vikings to 240 yards, which was, I think, is the Giants' lowest allowed total this season for yards. But the Vikings did have Max Brosma under center for the whole second half, so you would be upset if they were just throwing or running all over us. And then obviously we had injuries across the offensive line. Runyon missed the game. Obviously, we had Andrew Thomas go down with a hamstring injury. I think that pretty much ends that this season for Andrew Thomas, which is a shame because I think because he ends the season injured, he probably doesn't get that All-Pro that he likely deserves. I think if there's any shining lights on this Giants team, Andrew Thomas is one of them, but he definitely won't be getting his flowers. I know that he finished 10th overall in tackles in Pro Bowl voting, but I think we've all discussed our thoughts on the way that the Pro Bowl voting happens. I mean, Travis Kelce was the top vote getter for the second year in a row, and you can't tell me that Travis Kelce's having a good season. But our kicker was perfect. Our kicker hit all his kicks. You know, there are slim things we have to cling to here, but that's a plus. That's a plus. I won't worry with any questions. I know a few of you have got some talking points you want to crack through. So, Aaron, I'll come across to you first. You want to touch on the offense a little bit?
Yeah. So, I think decent summary. Obviously, we were never out of the game. So until obviously the final first down and the kneel downs, right, from the Vikings. So with 2 minutes to go, there was a chance we could have a game-winning drive and win the game. Anytime you come out of a one-score game, that's the NFL, right? It's about winning those one-score games. Obviously, we haven't been good enough this season to do that. But part of the narrative of when Dable went and switching over to Kafka was, let's see what Kafka could do with the play calling, this, that, and the other. And what's been noticeable in the stats is a little bit of a regression from Jackson Dart. How much of that is Dart? How much of that is scheme? I'm not sure yet. Obviously, Brian Flores plays a very complex defense, and I think for me the big error was we gave that far too much respect with how we called that game. So we go into a game where I think it was reasonable to expect to run the ball more against the Vikings. Both of the Vikings, do a lot of fantasy football. Vikings and Bills are teams that you want to start running backs against because they'd rather give up some rush yards on first and second down and know that and put you into difficult third down situations to try think. And occasionally they're going to give up an explosive run. First two run plays from scrimmage went for first downs for the Giants. That's exactly what they do. So what they'd obviously picked up on tape was we can go heavy personnel. So we played a lot of 3 tight ends, a lot of 2 tight ends. More so than we've been doing in previous games. Put a disadvantage in the box for the defense and run on them. 4th or 5th run in a row, they adjusted their defense and they put the extra defensive lineman in. They kind of shifted their scheme around. They went heavy cover 2. And although we ended up with 4.2 yards per carry on the game, which is reasonable. As you say, it was very one-dimensional. And none of our passing concepts built off of that. So we had 2 play-action plays the entire game off 30 rush attempts. They're not going to... If you don't run play-action off the run, especially when you've had success off the run, they are just going to creep up closer and closer to the line of scrimmage. They're going to stack the box more. And they know you're not... As soon as the quarterback turns to hand the ball off, they know it's not a pass play because you're not running play action. So it was a really weird called offense. I get what they were trying to do, but they just gave the defense too much respect. And then that, on top of that, when we do get going, we have at least three key drops on second and third down for first downs. a tip pass that again, Jonathan Vilma. I don't know why this guy's on commentary, because last week we had the whole Jackson Dart while they're doing design runs, everything was terrible. This week, Jackson Dart's got to get the pass down. The pass was going to hit Theo Johnson here. That's not a high pass. I'm sorry. That's the perfect spot. Catch it in front of your face. Like that is, especially when it was like a hitch route or whatever, that is the perfect spot to throw it. Because it's, yeah, I agree. If it's above your head, that's where you get the problems. If it, in theory, if you don't catch that, it hits you in the chest, it falls to the floor. Or Theo managed to tip it up, and it is picked off. So that doesn't help the quarterback stats in any way. Then we had what was probably 7 sacks. There's 5 on the stat sheet, but 2 that were wiped out by penalty due to contact with Dart's head. So that they're 2 first downs, and the 2 field goal drives that we got those 2 free first downs. On 3rd down, he's sacked. Fortunately for us, and I don't like the rule, but they were legitimate head contact on the quarterback. They weren't dirty hits, but by rule they are flags. We got first downs, we got field goals on those drives. So without that luck of the defender being too aggressive, we wouldn't have even got any of those points on offense. The one weird decision from Kafka as well on the very opening drive, we're down at the 10-yard line. First of all, it's 3rd and 8, and we run it. So immediately that says to me we're going on 4th down no matter what, because why would you run 3rd and 8 from the 12? So you've given it away that you're already going to go for it on 4th down. And then we only picked up 3 yards. So it's 4th and 5 from the 10 or 12, wherever it is. And it's like, well, this is obviously field goal territory. It's the opening drive. You've just conceded the field goal. Kick the field goal, tie the game up. You're back at 0-0, and you move on. No, we go for it at 4th down. We turn the ball over. And what do we lose by? 3 points. So it felt like a very weird set. I know analytics. Late in the game, I would have agreed with going for that, because you're trying to go for the win. Hopefully, if there's 2 minutes to go, you go for the first down, try and get the win, and you win the game in regulation, rather than kick it and try and win in overtime. But in the where you've got so much game left to play, and it's 4th and 5, you kick that one every time. So it was just absolutely baffling. Jackson Dart obviously got no help. The injuries on the O-line, I get some of the way that you're taken, but it's really tricky. It's really tricky to say this was Dart didn't play above his station, right? He didn't elevate the team, which some of the games we could probably say he did. This game he didn't. Is that the coaching holding him back? There was definitely we've seen Flores dominate rookie quarterbacks with his complexity of his defense. I'm not surprised it was a difficult game. It was just too much heavy run.
And let's not forget as well, while we're kind of talking about Vilma and his commentary, this is also the same man who last week said that you never see a drop from Darius Slayton. I'm not sure if he said that during the game last night, but with his drop yet again, I doubt that's the case. But no, it's interesting. I know that Art Stapleton put out that Kafka was asked earlier about this whole view around regression from Jackson Dart, and he's saying that he doesn't see it. I think they're just being conservative with Dart, especially with what's happening for the remainder of the season. It's not like we're fighting for anything meaningful other than that first overall pick. So I can imagine that they're not wanting to, push him hell for leather to try and sneak into the playoffs or anything. So I guess that's the way we're just going to have to deal with things for the moment. Kevin, you also wanted to touch on the game, but from a defensive standpoint.
Yeah, I did. I mean, I wanted to give some players their flyers, because it's very easy now just to sort of bag on everyone and sort of write off the season completely. But I thought this is one of the best defensive performances of the season on Sunday night. There's a strong pass rush. I thought the run defense had improved. I mean, ultimately, I think the defense done enough to win this game, and it was, the offensive ineptitude and some critical mistakes on defense that ultimately, felt like this was a what could have been type of loss. I know everyone's thinking about the draft implications and stuff like that, but I thought the players went out there and definitely give some effort. I mean, the pass rush especially, what more can we say about Brian Burns? I mean, he was like 2 sacks, including the momentum-changing strip sack before halftime. That directly led to Tyler Newman's scoop and score touchdown. He had ended up with 4 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, 2 QB hits. He's just the most consistent and impactful defender for us all season. And he just keeps turning up. And he's sort of like, if young players want to look at how you should carry yourself in a losing season, then Brian Burns is kind of the epitome of that. Even last season, when he was carrying a couple of injuries, he still went out there and gave everything. And then, Chauncey Golston as well. Like we lauded this signing in the offseason, saying that this could be a bit of a difference maker. And he just was hit by the Giants' injury bug for most of the season. But he started playing a bit more recently, and this was by far his best game as a Giant. He managed to get his first sack of the season. Plus he got a QB hurry. He was strong against the pass and the run. He ended up with 6 tackles and 3 tackles for loss. So I thought he showed himself really, really well. Abdul Carter, there's a third straight game that he's had a sack in. Like he's starting to put the play on the field into actual production and into the stat sheet. He had that beautiful signature inside spin move from the A gap, which was just like peak sort of like in the stuff highlights we were seeing in the draft, like draft highlights, stuff like that. So it was really good to see him sort of like coming up with that. He ended up with 6 pressures, tackle for loss, and 4 QB hits. But it seems like everything with Abdul Carter, you mentioned it before in the breakdown, like that costly neutral zone infraction, it took away that 96-yard pick 6. It's just so simple. You see, I don't know whether he has to go up like wide receivers do, and wide receivers get the okay from the sideline judges. Am I in the right spot? Am I on the line? Am I behind it and stuff like that? But it just seemed like another mental mistake, and he took ownership afterwards, of course. But it's just like everyone that kind of got off your feet with that pick 6, because it just felt like the secondary have given up so much, and to be able to get something like that and to be wiped off was so frustrating. And Dexter Lawrence, this was an up and down game for him. I thought he had 6 pressures in the QB hit. There's disappointing penalty in the Vikings game-winning drive. He was back to he flashed sort of his old self, but then he just kind of failed to deliver when the big moments came up. Which was a little bit frustrating. I don't know if he's mentally checked out this year or not, but I'm hoping this offseason and get himself right, get himself fit, and he'll be back for next season. But one of the players I do want to tip my cap to is Bobby Okereke. I thought he had an outstanding game. He sort of it was definitely his best game of the season. He ended up with 13 tackles and a pass defense. That red zone pass breakup against Justin Jefferson was huge. He had a key third down stop, forcing a field goal late on. All the other linebackers were kind of invisible. We didn't see much, but I just thought every time sort of like they were running the ball, Bobby's making a play on the running back, and I just thought he really, really flashed. Holland and Newman, they played well in the run defense. The secondary, I thought there were signs of a bit of life. There, Adebo had his first interception, great reactions. That ball bounced off the wide receiver, and he was there and managed to get his 2 feet down as well. Showed great instincts. Javon Holland as well was there when he needed to be for that pick 6 that ended up being wiped out. Newman, he was alert, for that fumble recovery. So it was definitely sort of like promising signs from the secondary. But yes, okay, it was JJ McCarthy. He's still trying to find his feet for the first half, and then Max Brosmer in the second half. Although both were held to 160 yards, like you said, there's 3 sacks of McCarthy, 1 on Brosner. But this Vikings offense have been playing kind of well the last few weeks. So to go out there and actually put on a bit of a performance that you can be proud of, I think at this stage of the season as well. I think overall the defense did more than enough to win the game, like I said earlier. The key penalties, missed opportunities, just seemed to plague us. It was one of your first lines, Craig, wasn't it? Like penalties and missed opportunities and stuff like that. Just absolutely just like kill us every week. But
Yeah.
Brian Burns is the heartbeat of this defense, and this game sort of is encouraging signs for the future, but it's still just pain in the present, unfortunately.
Before we move on to the Raiders bit, Aaron, you just popped a little bit of trivia into the private chat there.
Yeah. So Brian Burns is sack total now for the season. It puts him as the 7th best season ever by a Giant. But who was the last Giant to get a sack total in a single season more than his current total this season, with 2 games to go, of course?
I think I know it, so I'm going to stay stum.
I'm going to throw out the last sort of like proper productive one. JPP? Correct.
Yeah, JPP. So, yeah, we haven't had one since JPP, who incidentally was active this week on the Tampa Bay roster, having been inspired by Justin Herbert having 2 years out and decided, I need to renew my health.
Philip
insurance.
Rivers.
Sorry, yeah, Philip Rivers.
Poor Justin Herbert's taking taking shade here.
Yeah.
Los Angeles, San Diego Chargers quarterback. I knew I was on about.
But then you go from having like Strahan, OC, Justin Tuck, JPP, like these type of players. Like even Kiwanuka was a very, very productive sort of like. Are they rotational pass rushers? Like we went from that, and then JPP, like you said, the last one, to really no one you can kind of go out and buy a jersey of, or really sort of like root for.
You saying you didn't want a Quincy Roche jersey or a...
Wow.
Yeah. Right. Let's move forward to the Raiders game then. I'm going to continue the cracking stat finds because I found this one earlier, and I thought it was cool. For just the 4th time since the NFC-AFC merger, the teams with the 2 worst records that stand alone, so there's nobody else on the same record as them, will meet within the final 2 weeks of the season. So this just doesn't happen very often. Like you don't get the toilet bowl actually happen during the season, which is interesting. But yes, we have 2 teams with aspirations that we're finally looking up, battling it out for the first overall pick, where 2 sets of fans will be potentially happier with a loss than a win. I don't think you're going to get that very often.
Oh, I was going to say, right, surely they should flip this and say the winner takes the L.
Is it possible for both teams to lose the game? If it is, these 2 can do it. Now, the Raiders hired Pete Carroll in the offseason. They traded for Geno Smith. They kind of hoped that they could start to push the narrative around and start to put some pressure on the other teams inside the AFC West, in the Chiefs and the Chargers and the Broncos, but it hasn't happened at all. It's been horrific, to be honest. Their offensive line is one of the league's worst. They've allowed 57 sacks this season, 52 of those against Geno Smith. He is the most sacked quarterback in the NFL this season so far. He has also struggled. He's got a 85.7 quarterback rating, which is among the league's worst. He's also got 15 interceptions on the season, which is joint worst with Tua. So it's not been a good season for Geno Smith, which I think Pete Carroll was probably quite frustrated about because he brought him across knowing that Geno Smith had statistically his best year as a quarterback in the league under Carroll at Seattle, and it just hasn't worked. And obviously, Pete Carroll, I think you can't abstain him from any blame here. He was the person who hired, was it Chip Kelly, who was the offensive coordinator over at the Raiders? He obviously got fired because they weren't doing very well. I actually think his coaching staff has not been very good at all, and that hasn't helped him. Now, defensively, they are a middle-of-the-pack team. They allow around 326.1 yards per game, but they do allow 25.7 points per game, which is the 8th highest in the league. Now, as much as we can hark on that, the Giants are worse. They allow 373 yards per game and 27.5 points. So, we're going into a game here where we're looking at 2 teams who really have underperformed this season compared to what I think the preseason thoughts were. However, if you do look at what the Raiders did maybe last week against the Texans, or should I say last night against the Texans, that they put up a fight. You know, we all took the Texans on the spread, and I think the spread was 10.5, and they didn't get near it. You know, the Raiders sort of really did ride them close, and they could have even won the game. You know, they really were driving to the end. Now I look at this game and I feel like the only real danger to us is Ashton Genty or ourselves shooting ourselves in the foot in the terms of, you know, these mistakes and everything that we've been talking about. Now, Genty is coming off 128 yards last night against the Texans, which is his second best output of the entire season. His average, though, is only 55.2 per game, so it's not great. Kev, is there anyone else on the Raiders that scares you in this game, or is this literally a case of if we stay out of our own way, we will probably win?
I am scared of Genty because he sort of has all the talent there. Obviously, just hasn't really gone from this season. But if he gets himself going, he could put up serious numbers against the run defense that we have put out there on the field. Now, I'm kind of hoping that sort of like this past week is a little bit of a kickstart for the defense. Like I mentioned, the way they sort of like performed this week is starting to give me a bit of hope. And I think with Golston coming into the fray and actually playing quite well, it might be a little bit of a difference. And I know Abdul Carter said recently as well that Bullen is kind of just putting him into more positions to make plays and to better opportunities. So I think they will try and run the ball on us. I think our secondary stepped up a little bit, and I'm hoping to see more of them. Although we definitely need Flott back, because as soon as Flott went out injured, Banks came in and just looked the awful player that we've been sort of like watching between our fingers for the last sort of like year or two. But I wouldn't be overly scared of their passing game. Unless, like I said, Banks is on the field and people just target him, because why wouldn't you? He just gives up receptions all day long. But I'm holding up a little bit of hope this week on the defense, and I think we could stifle Genty, but he could go off. He's got the talent, definitely.
Speaking of somebody with no hope, Shane.
Is that in terms of being a Giants fan, or just my life in general?
I mean, the Albion aren't helping, but this is not this is not the forum for that. It's no secret that you are an advocate for the tank train. I don't think that we're shocking any of our listeners or viewers by saying that. What do you want from this game coming forward? Because it's difficult, isn't it? Because
no.
Is it not? Is it literally as simple as just? Is
it as simple as a loss? I just don't. What do you gain from winning? Absolutely nothing. Not going to get any confidence in the last 2 weeks. You're not even going to have the guy who's in the head coach position. He's not going to be the head coach in 2 weeks. Fingers crossed, the GM right now is not going to be the GM in 2 weeks. Like, what do you genuinely get? Like literally, I just put a fucking lottery out to season ticket holders and be like, look, we're after 53 people to play out for the Giants on the last 2 weeks of the season. And they'll probably fucking get the 2 wins, to be perfectly honest with you.
Might get a good kicker.
My only thing is, right, just to jump in quite quickly, is that I actually agree with you, Shane, okay? Like in the long term, the new GM, the new head coach will have draft capital, potential serious draft capital that can flip this franchise. That's the hope, right? That's what you could have with it. But my worry is, what does another 2 bad losses do to Jackson Dart this offseason compared to what would 2 good wins do for Jackson Dart in this offseason? Like, how would he attack the offseason going out there and pitting up 2 games with 300 yards, multiple touchdowns, and gets 2 wins? For his development over the offseason, like, I'm not saying I know the answer, but that's the only thing that I juggle with is like, yes, we want the first overall pick. Yes, okay, that'd be huge. But then, are we beating Jackson Dart down now? Are we ruining him kind of the way we did to Daniel Jones? Like that's my only worry. But that's my only worry is like Jackson Dart going into the off season with 2 fantastic wins. How does he carry himself then compared to being beaten down and trodden going into the off season? How does that prepare him for the next season? So that's just like how I think about it.
Or the flip side is what the 2 losses do to get extra draft picks to aid Jackson Dart's development next year. It depends what side of the fence you want to sit on, to be honest with you. I'm sitting on the losing side. I'm as far away from that fucking fence as I can be.
Brilliant. Aaron, what do you make of this weekend's game? Obviously, we're looking at 2 teams who really have not had good seasons. Do you think the Raiders showed enough against the Texans that they could cause us problems?
I mean, look who we've beat this season. Look who we've nearly beat this season and where they sit in the standings. You know, we beat the Chargers, who are still in the hunt for technically, you know, winning the AFC West, right? We should have beaten the Broncos, who are, you know, on course for looking at still in the hunt for a number 1 seed, although Jacksonville kind of does. So in theory, these teams shouldn't, you know, the Raiders shouldn't be anywhere near us. However, we've got 2 wins. Everyone's a challenge for us, right? and you know, the NFL is we look at the scores top to bottom in the NFL each week and look at college football, right? It doesn't take much in this. I played brick ball for many years. It doesn't take much of a golf in talent to have absolute landslides in games. And you know, we've been bad in the 2 previous weeks to this weekend. But other than that, we've been competitive in nearly every game. And the differences between winning and losing are the things like we talked about: coaching, discipline, penalties, those kind of things. Because the NFL does such a great job of parity. Having said that, and going back to the kind of original question about players that scare me, so I'm expecting to be without Andrew Thomas. If he's got a hamstring, I don't expect him to be back, and so that means we've got a juggle with the offensive line. Potentially JMS might be out as well. Hopefully John Runyon's back from having his baby.
Did he have the baby?
According to Bobby Skinner, per source, he's the 9th offensive lineman baby this season. Which I don't know what went on in the off season for that offensive line room, but
those supplements are something else, aren't they?
I think only Tyreek Hill was more active. But allegedly, but I am concerned about Max Crosby and Jackson Dart's health. So Max Crosby is still, you know, an all-pro defensive end. I think he's got 10 sacks this season. He's playing at a supreme level, both run and pass. Complete defender. And then on the offensive side, I know we're not too worried about a pass game, but what position do we fear the most on offense? It's the tight end position, and we've got Brock Bowers to deal with this week, who ruined me in my fantasy finals this week, and sadly Trey McBride couldn't keep up pace with Brock Bowers this week. So there are some decent players around there. Obviously, Geno Smith is probably one of the worst quarterbacks we faced this season, backups included. We saw what we did to Geno Smith last season, and you know, that last away win. So it would be just like the Giants to go and beat up on a bad quarterback away from home, and you know, add Geno Smith revenge game, and get the W when we don't want it. The only way I want us to win this game is 50-0, and that ain't going to happen. If we're going to win, we got to win where we're so impressive that we, you know, I want to see Marcus Bowe catching a touchdown, you know, because we're pulling out the bottom of the trick because it's so easy. It ain't going to happen. So yeah, I think the last thing we want to do is have two paper tiger wins where we cover up on all the cracks and we go, oh, actually, we don't need a new wide receiver, a first round kind of wide receiver or free agent wide receiver. We don't need a new linebacker. We don't need a new quarterback. We don't need a new guard. I mean, the one thing that kind of went away from this weekend for me was we've got no depth on O-line. Our O-line's been better this season. We've all said that. As soon as we get out of the starters, it starts to fall apart very quickly. So Jermaine Illuminor being re-signed is really top priority. And maybe we'll get to see Jermaine at left tackle and Bo at right, because I'd rather see it that way round from if Bo's going to be the replacement for Jermaine, which is because he's the contract situation, let's play Bo in the position that we think we need him to fill next season and see how he does in these two games and put the best pass protector onto Dart's blindside. We know Jermaine can play left tackle. He filled in admirably last season. So let's do that rather than the kind of school of thought in certainly in the O-line is if you've got one change you've got to make, you don't make two changes to change that one change. So you don't go and move a guard or a tackle around and then from their current position to flip sides, for example, and fill them in. I actually would in this situation purely because we're in trying to learn something mode and at least we can get something from the game. Win or lose, actually getting something from the game about Bo would be valuable. Otherwise, start Russell Wilson. Like if we are fully embracing the tank, let Russell Wilson have his final two games of his career. Let's not have Dart get injured. Put him up behind the thing. I wouldn't even risk injuring Jameis Winston behind the line. I'd just go straight to Russell Wilson and say, "Here you go, Russ. 2-game glorious streak. Go on, out you go. Help us bring home the number one draft pick."
No, Russ, he'll screw it up though. I think it's a really good point you make about Crosby. Actually, I was watching that game last night on a train home from a gig, and there was a play where Nick Chubb blew past their defensive line and the linebacker level as well, and it looked like he was gone. Like there was going to be a touchdown. Max Crosby ran after him and tackled him in the air, like literally dove at him and took him to the ground. And I thought, God, he must be absolutely blowing. And I think it was either the next play or the play after that. He did the exact same thing, but at the line of scrimmage. Like that man is a monster. He is probably underrated because of the team he plays on. Because he doesn't put up the stat numbers that Myles Garrett puts up, he's not in the same conversation. But like Garrett, he plays on a team that have been perennially poor across the last few years. But I think Max Crosby is a phenomenal player. I would happily have him as a Giant. But yeah, that's a cracking little shout. Do we want to get predictions done now, or should we do talking points and save predictions for the end?
I think save the predictions for the end.
Yeah. In that case, Shane, it's your favourite time of the podcast. It's Tankathon.
Right. We're going to get into some stuff today. We're going to be talking tanking. We're going to be talking conspiracy theories. We're going to be getting deep into, so get comfortable. It's going to get dicey. But 122 days, 3 hours, 44 minutes, 40 seconds and counting down until hopefully the New York Giants are going to be on the clock with the number one overall pick. So yeah, as I say, at the minute, the Giants currently hold the number one overall draft pick. As per the projection that the Athletic do, the Giants currently have a 33% chance of the number one pick with an 88% chance of a top five. Only the Raiders have a better chance of both. They have 1% higher at 34% and top five pick at 93%. The Mail mentioned it in our group chat earlier on, just a couple of notes in regards to the strength of schedule and the kind of tiebreaker. The Giants are guaranteed to have the strength of schedule tiebreaker over the Titans and the Cardinals, and the Browns are guaranteed to have the strength of schedule tiebreaker over the Giants. A Giants loss next week, though, however, locks their worst possible pick at number 4. So when we look at kind of the projection, I mean, just in regards to the Giants' chances, between week 6 and week 10, the Giants had less than a 5% chance of the number 1 overall draft pick. And they've gone and done that, and they now have a 33% chance. Now, if they lose at the weekend, their odds jump to about 67% chance. However, if we were to do the unthinkable and we would have less than a 1% chance. Obviously, we've got Raiders this weekend, and then we end our season against Dallas Cowboys. The Raiders, who, as I say, they've got the better odds at the minute of number 1 overall pick. They've got the Giants and the Chiefs. I mean, 2 potentially winnable games, the Patrick Mahomes Kansas City Chiefs, and
not just that, it's the Gardner Minshew-less Kansas City Chiefs, because he's now been put on IR.
Yeah, so there's a very good chance that the Raiders, for their fans, potentially could do the unthinkable as well and win out, so to speak, win the last 2 weeks of the season. Just behind us, you have got the Jets, who are 3-12. They've got Patriots and Bills. You'd imagine them losing both of them as well. And like I mentioned, the Browns are at number 4. They have the Steelers and the Bengals. Conspiracy time now. Earlier on, Kev said something that I disagree with. He said that Carter made a mistake. Carter got caught offside. Carter made the touchdown, get called back. Was it a mistake? May I mention that the inability or the lack of decision to go for the field goal for 3 points, and we ended up losing by 3 points, was maybe a bit of a mistake, and maybe we should have gone for the field goal. Maybe, just maybe, the Giants are tanking out here. You know, you had notable players, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. I've not even got into the conspiracy theory yet. This is just me spitting facts right now.
Have you got a tinfoil hat?
I don't need a tinfoil hat, believe me. This conspiracy theory is good. But just on the last note of that, I've not watched the game, but I understand that at certain points in the game, the likes of Abdul Carter and Dexter Lawrence were not on the field for key drives, including the drive that the Vikings did at the end to go ahead in the game. Why are you not putting your best players on the field if you want to win a game? Why are you not going for 3 points of field goal range if you want to win a game? Mike, Connie, you can answer them questions for us. But conspiracy time now. Now, if you go onto Twitter and look at certain areas, and I don't mean the 18 areas, you filthy gits. I mean, legitimate areas you can look on Twitter. There's been a certain man at the New York Giants games for the last 2 weeks. The certain man is going to be announcing at some point in the NFL draft that the New York Giants are on the clock. Why, when the New York Giants fucking suck, is Roger Goodell attending New York Giants games? He was there for the Washington game. He was there at MetLife the past weekend for the Minnesota Vikings game. Someone give me a genuine reason as to why Roger Goodell would be at those games. Because if you're Roger Goodell, if you're the commissioner, you can get to any game you want. You're going to get luxury seats. You're going to sit with the owners. You're not going to have to pay for it. Probably have unlimited beer. Who's picking the fucking Giants to go and watch? I'm not, and I'm a Giants fan. So someone answer. Someone give me a genuine reason as to why Roger Goodell is attending New York Giants games. Is he ensuring that they tank, but they don't make it obvious? Is he saying to John Mara, you need to hire this person as your head coach? Is he saying, Jamie's nailed it, John Mara, you need an ownership change here? Is he in John Mara's ear? So come on, it's open for discussion. Why is Roger Goodell, the commissioner of the NFL, attending New York Giants games when they are fucking 2 and whatever it is, 14, 15? I've lost count at this point, how many losses we've had. Why is he there? Open forum, don't rush, guys.
So you're saying it's in the script?
There's long been talk that there's a script published in the NFL.
I mean, it would make the offseason very, very interesting for the whole NFL in general if the New York Giants had the first pick.
Because it guarantees a trade back. If the New York Giants have the number 1 overall pick, they are not Steve, tell me I'm wrong, though. You talk about saying I'm batshit crazy. Give me a genuine reason as to Roger Goodell's attending New York Giants games when they're battling for the number 1 overall pick.
Shane, I've got some of that Kool-Aid in here. I'm sipping it. I like it. I like it.
I mean, I like the theory. I like the conspiracy side of it. It's just it's too tricky though. Surely, also
you go onto Twitter and type in on Twitter, just in the search bar, Goodell and Giants. There's a lot of people talking. And Craig's doing it right now because he's thinking Shane's fucking crazy. He's had his took out. He's on too many drugs to heal the pain. And Craig's going to look up and in a minute he's going to be like, he's got a fucking point, people are talking about why Goodell's at the Giants games.
You mean it's not because he wanted to go and see his favourite quarterbacks in Marcus Mariota and JJ McCarthy in back-to-back weeks? That's not why he decided to.
Definitely not. You just rather stay at home in your 8-bedroom mansion or whatever it is and have your butt ringing.
But you don't want to slog through the snow for a 12 o'clock kickoff. It was snowing at 11 for the Washington game, wasn't it? So you slogged through the snow to brave the weather.
Mayo's just piling on with my logic here. Craig, come on, you've done your Twitter search. Am I insane?
Yes. Yes. A lot of people are saying, is he trying to force John Mara to sell the team? That seems to be the overarching thing. Because revenue, what they're saying is that it's a big market, that New York is such a big market, and with it not doing well, it's not helping the NFL drive profitability and stuff. So he's looking at, because
conspiracy aside, you think there is a reason as to why he's there, and I don't think it's just that he thought, I want to watch the Giants play.
Yeah, I think it's
what that reason is. Who knows? We'll never know.
Well, I think the fact that it's freezing cold, it's come up to Christmas, and he lives in Jamestown, New York, that he just might want to catch a couple of games close to home over the Christmas period.
I'm just saying, Shane, we loved the Rockefeller tree. He might just want to go and have a little cheeky look at the Rockefeller.
I would rather pay the fucking $90 for 3 minutes of ice skating on the Rockefeller Centre than go and watch that for free in the VIP boxes with my free beer.
Would you rather be as cold as we were
at
the Rockefeller Centre? I still, to this day, have never, ever felt cold like that.
When we go back, can we go back in September, please, lads?
I mean, maybe he is there to watch MVP.
He's in the wrong fucking stadium. He's in the wrong state.
To be fair, I do love a Shane conspiracy theory tangent. This might be the best tangent you've had all season, and you've had some belters, my friend. So
I have to try and edit myself. And anyway, just rounding up the draft talk anyway, and the Tankathon talk. So there is an article on The Athletic today about Dane Brugler kind of breaking down Giants' targets to the draft. Now, I'm not going to go into all of them and what he says in that. You can either read those yourself if you subscribe to The Athletic, or something that we'll go into later on in the new year. But they did put a poll out on The Athletic. What should the Giants' top priority in the NFL draft be? Now, 29%, and it led the way, was the cornerback. There was 27.9 sick fuckers that went for offensive line. What are you doing? Why is that so fucking high up? No. 18.5% went for defensive line, 13% went for wide receiver, and 11.6% went for other. Now, of the writing answers that they received, many, Steve, listen up, many wanted to see the Giants target and upgrade an inside linebacker. So, but it's just some of the names. I mean, in regards to cornerback, he mentions Mansour Delane and Jeremiah McCoy. The two. I'm not going to go into offensive line. No offense, Aaron. Defensive line, I'm not really going to go into, because to me, I think the two main areas for me is wide receiver and cornerback. If you're not going to go for that inside linebacker position, and obviously the wide receiver ones he went for was Carnell Tate and Jordan Tyson. So, there is an article on The Athletic if you want to kind of read that, and he kind of talks about the fit for the Giants and why they might want to look for that player and what he would bring and that. But You know, you got, let's say, you got 29% want to target a cornerback in round 1 of the NFL draft. And, you know, if we do have that number overall pick, like I say, if the Giants have the number 1 overall pick, they are not staying at number 1. Like, that's going to be the worst kept secret in the NFL. It's just going to be kind of what you can potentially get for that pick. And, you know, all being well, it's not going to be Joe Shane that's going to be deciding to accept or decline the offer.
Very, very true. It kind of segues quite nicely into what I was going to talk about next, actually, which is mock drafts. So for anybody who listened or watched the show last week with myself and Dan, where we did the preview for the Vikings, these 2 next talking points are going to be very similar. But the reason I wanted to bring them back is we now have the other 3 on the pod, and I think it's really interesting to get their opinion on these, because I think these are 2 big off-season issues. So last week we spoke about the PFF mock that had the Giants trading down with the Jets to get pick 5, the Jets' second rounder, and then their first and second rounder in 2027. This week they've already done a mock draft, but this time that they've got us doing the same trade down with the Dolphins. So we're going from 1 to 10 for a second rounder, a first rounder next year, and a second rounder in 2027. I don't agree with that one. I think that the Dolphins would have to pay a little bit more on top of that. I think if the Jets are jumping from 5 to 1, the Dolphins aren't jumping from 10 to 1 for the same money. So there's a little bit of something in there. Maybe Waddle, maybe throw in Waddle. We'll see. Obviously, in that talking point last week, we were talking about Caleb Downs being the person who PFF have revealed is the Giants' most drafted player on their mock draft simulator. And in the mock draft released today, they have the Giants picking Caleb Downs at number 10. So, Shane, going to come to you. What do you think of the haul? Because obviously that's going to be a big talking point whenever we're going to move down, if we do end up getting that number 1 pick. And then do you think that we still have a concern at safety, and that's why Downs is the number 1 pick there?
Is that, you mean the haul in regards to moving down to 10?
Yeah. Well, either. Would you be happy to move down to 5 for what was given? And if it was 10, what more are you asking for?
Yeah, I think I'd be happy moving down to 5, kind of worst case. So I think 10 is probably a little bit too far for me. I think if I'm moving to 10, I'm probably asking for pick 10 and an additional 2 first rounders, in all honesty. If you want to go up and get number 1 pick, that's fine, but you're going to pay it. I do wonder if maybe you could see a team like, I've got the draft order in front of me, but the Rams at the minute, for instance, are at pick 11. Yeah. Maybe they bump up to 7, and then they move from 7 up to 1. So obviously they've got a bit more ammunition to kind of make those moves. So that's something I'd maybe be open to doing. In regards to Caleb Downs, I think it's a mix. Yes, I think safety is an issue. I think that the safety position has been really badly mismanaged by Joe Shane, to be honest with you. I think we're all in agreement that we should have brought a certain somebody back, and we didn't. So I'm not going to mention his name because I don't want to upset Kev this close to Christmas. And then obviously Nubin's kind of not really taken the step we wanted him to. And, you know, you look at Javon Holland, could have had Xavier McKinney for very similar money. So that looks like a kind of bad decision. But then I think the other thing as well is, for me, you draft Caleb Downs, you're sticking to what I think you should always stick to, and you're drafting BPA. When you start reaching, that's when you start drafting for need over BPA. That's an issue. And for me, Caleb Downs right now is probably one of 2 blue chip prospects. I know you shouldn't really use that term. I'm not going to use, say, generational talent, but, you know, Caleb Downs can be similar to Kev's boy who went to Ravens. Help me out, Kev.
Cole Hamilton.
Hamilton, yes, thank you. I think he could be very, very similar to Hamilton, who was a little bit slow to get going in the NFL, but, you know, now he's one of the best safeties for me in the National Football League, kind of top 5 safety. Hamilton is. So yeah, I think that's what you'd be getting with Downs. You know, you'd be getting someone who he's one of the 2 best players in the draft this year.
Aaron, you've looked at many a mock draft, and we've spoken about the haul that potentially we could get for number one. I know you've played with the PFF simulator there and love the look of 2 first rounders this year. What do you make of 1 and 2, and then 1 and 2 in 2027?
I think it depends on what the one is this year. So one down to 5 is completely different than 1 down to 10. And again, I think I'm kind of with Shane in that there's sort of 2 blue chippers, a couple of light blue guys that are at higher value positions than maybe where the blue chippers land. I'm surprised Shane didn't suggest trading down to 2 and taking a running back, because that works out really well. But I think this is a draft this year where and again the college quarterbacks don't have to declare yet. So I don't believe Moore has declared yet, and if he doesn't declare, this makes it a 1 quarterback class in Mendoza, and that just, given how many teams are quarterback needy, that just escalates the price. And you might even get 2 first rounders going from 1 to 2, like 2 first rounders and 2 twos going from 1 to 2, because the Raiders, say the Raiders end up at 2 or the Jets end up at 2, someone is going to be willing to pay that 3 first rounders from 4, 5, 6, where you can drop to 2 and still take the best player in the draft that's not a quarterback, and have another pick either this year or next year. Next year they're talking about being a stronger draft. They said that about this year's draft this time last year, so it's never guaranteed. But so whether it's 2 1s this year and or 2 1s next year, 1 and a 2 next year, I don't know. We've got loads of holes on this roster. I think the one thing that we do have on this roster is we do have a real big depth problem, so quality in depth. So as Shane says, regardless of position, if you're picking in the top 5, you need to take the best player available, and don't try and fill a need with that thing. That kind of similar to the Carter pick this year. You could argue that Carter was not the need, but he was the best player on the board after Hunter had gone, and arguably he was 1A, 1B with Hunter. So you take the best player. I think we do the same, regardless of position, even if that ends up being an edge, and worry about, well, actually, can we trade Kayvon for that extra second if we end up taking, another edge type player at that top thing? I don't think it's. I think there's enough other players in this draft to say, well, actually, we don't need to take an edge. I think there's some decent edge players in round 2 and 3 as well. So it's maybe a bit like running back, where teams will wait on that position from last year, and you can get some value later on. But I think you take the best player. If it's Caleb Downs at safety, low value position, but are you telling me upgrading our secondary? Maybe it depends on what scheme and what coach comes in. But I think you put in a blue chip back there, it makes it real valuable. So yeah, that's I think best player available, whoever that is, trading down for a haul, adding multiple picks. I would love one of the first round wide receivers. A Carnell Tate would be lovely. Even trade down once and trade down again. So maybe you build your haul up by going from 1 to 3, 1 to 4, and then go from 4 to 5, 4 to 6, 7, 8, and pick up picks. We don't have a 3rd rounder. We don't have a 7th rounder. We can add next year, because again, we think Dart's it, but wouldn't it be great to have extra ammunition next year, just in case Dart has a terrible season next year, and then you can go in and draft again next year. Because I don't think the right decision would be to draft Mendoza this year. I know people have talked about trading and all this kind of stuff, but the draft is a lottery, right?
Yeah.
Better play until you know, and then move on.
Kev, Aaron makes a really good point during that, in the fact that we don't have that third rounder. Is that why maybe having an extra second rounder is key with part of this trade down? If it happens, obviously.
Yeah, of course.
It's all hypothetical.
Yeah, definitely, it's massive because, like Aaron just said, it is a bit of a lottery. Sort of more darts you have to throw at the dartboard, more chances you have to hit.
Is there a joke in there somewhere?
Yeah, obviously, and and thank you, picking it up. Well done. And but yes, so and also, like, we're starting to get a little expensive now as well with like Burns and Thomas and Kayvon, if we want to keep him. We've paid some secondary help to come in with a cornerback and safety, so we are getting a little bit expensive as well. So the draft, although the salary cap is healthy, it's not one of the better ones. Like, we're not like the Titans, who's got over 100 million to spend next year. Like, so having extra draft capital and trying to build through the draft is absolutely huge. So, we did the correct thing in giving away that third to go up and get Dart, which looks like an absolute masterstroke now, of course. But I do think being able to replenish the draft stock and add to it for a new GM and coach to come in to really sort of build their team, because we might have to make some salary decisions in the next couple of years.
Kev, I might stick with you on this one and just, screw up my own cheat sheet to figure out the order of asking questions. But Dan and I spoke about Bill Barnwell of ESPN's article as well, around the fact that the Giants' job is the fifth most exciting job, despite the fact that Joe Shane has obviously said that he's fielding calls for it already and he thinks it's one of the most exciting. Bill had the Bengals, Cardinals, Browns and Titans as being ranked above us. What are your thoughts on that? Because the Bengals, Dan and I completely agreed with. It's the Cardinals, Browns and Titans that I think we started having an issue with.
It depends who's desirable for. Like, some coaches might think to themselves, right, I don't want to go to the New York market. I'd prefer to go to one of these other teams and rebuild there, because it looks like the Cardinals are going to move on from Kyler Murray. It kind of feels like that's where they're going to part ways this offseason. The Titans' job, you got your first overall pick last year, QB. If you believe in that QB, then that's quite a desirable job. But for me, I really think that there's enough on the roster for a coach to come in and work with. And if you do get that for a first overall pick, it opens up so many opportunities, and it puts you in such a strong position to go, okay, I can build my team. And also, Joe Sheehan, for whether people like him or don't like him, he has sort of got this team in a decent salary cap position where a head coach and GM can come in, and if they want to cut ties, they can cut ties. There's no void years. They haven't really got void years on any of the salaries. So if they want to come in and start cutting people, like in a year or two's time, if it's not working out, you're able to do that. So it's almost like there is a little bit of a blank canvas there. Yes, there's not a lot of money to work with going down, so you're not going to make massive, flashy seals. But if you believe in your drafting and evaluation of talent, and you've got a QB that you believe in on a rookie contract, it's a no-brainer to come in and sort of, if you're given carte blanche, to go and make the team the way you want to make it.
Shane, the number one pick is obviously something that we all want to see. I think any team would like to see their team have the number one pick. They just don't want the shite that comes with it in the terms of the play. Do you think losing out on the number one pick does hit the Giants in the terms of the desirability of coaches coming across to be that head coach?
I don't think so. I think it's more for the fans than anything else. I can't imagine someone speaking to Mara and Tish right now saying, look, if you get the number one pick, I'm going to come, but if you get the number two pick, I'm out. Like, I don't think that'll be happening. I think Kev has a good point in regards to the market. It's one of the reasons why I think it's risky going for a new head coach in the terms of they've not been it before. You're elevating them, whether it's from college or whether it's from a coordinator role. You're not just elevating them into being a head coach for the first ever time, but it's the New York market as well. But also, something else that I think is one of the reasons why it not be desirable is because it depends how involved ownership are going to be and what potential conditions come with becoming head coach. Is it desirable if you're told, look, you're coming here as an head coach, Joe's staying as general manager? You might get you might get a head coach to be like, no, I'm not really interested. I don't want to work for Joe Shane. I'm not impressed with the roster that he's built or some of the things that he's done, the way he's mismanaged the roster, etc. Or you might get a coaches come that say, look, not on a Bill Belichick level, but you could have an head coach come in and say, I want more control over certain things that either Shane or the new general manager or even ownership themselves are not willing to give up. So I do think one of the reasons why it might not be desirable as we think is because we speak about it a lot. We've, hinted and alluded to it a lot. We don't know how involved ownership are in certain areas and departments, and we'll never know genuinely.
Aaron, I'll come to you last before we do the predictions.
Unless Roger Goodell leaks.
How much do you think Joe Shane's potential of staying, but also potential of going, affects the desirability of the job? Like, do you think it becomes more desirable if there is a hard reset completely, or do you think that maybe worries coaches? He's put him on mute for some reason. He's put himself.
Yeah, I've just had a little internet dropout. Obviously, it's the tin foil that I put on has affected the signal. So I started speaking about Roger Goodell and it cut out. So obviously he's listening and watching, and he's realised we're onto him. I missed the question, to be perfectly honest, Craig. But in terms of value of the franchise and the position, it might depend on Joe Shane.
Yeah,
and he's sticking around, because do you want to work under a lame duck GM or a GM that do you want to work for a guy like that? As Shane said, it could be an ownership, but let's be real. This is one of the prestige franchises in the NFL, in US and world sport, right? If you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. There are some people that will be attracted to that, and if you do become a world champion in New York, that's really valuable. I mean, is this a more desirable job than say running Notre Dame's football program? We might have to find out.
I can't believe you went there.
But
there's a lot of talk at the moment.
There is a lot of talk at the moment, yeah. Obviously, where we are and who we can talk to, he is one of the few candidates that's technically available to talk, because you were eliminated from the college football playoff by some shenanigans, and then decided you didn't want to play in a bowl game. Which have you seen the helmets for the Pop-Tarts Bowl? Why wouldn't you want to get yourself on one of those?
Kev, you've just got something in your back, mate. Get it out.
But just one last point before going to thing, Craig, is that I do think we will need a CEO type of head coach, someone to come in with massive cojones, someone who's done it before. They might not necessarily have been overly successful before, but they've been in the chair before and they've learned from it, and they can come in. They've gone back to be a coordinator or whatever, or they've taken time out of the game, or they come back in, take over, and be a CEO and bring in your offensive coordinator to run the offense, defensive coordinator to run defense, whether it be yours, it could be yours, someone running it. And there might be a case of them being senior and experienced, and the meetings with Joe Shane are going to be huge, because Joe Shane might be a deciding factor, or they might see him as a young green GM who they could bring along as well. So, the interview process is going to be huge, whether we see Joe Shane back or not, in my opinion.
So what I've basically got from Kev there is Mike McCarthy, book it in now. It's done. Right, let's move on to predictions and then close this out. So predictions so far this season, every single one of us went for a Vikings win. So we all get a point. Shane sitting pretty on 13 out of 15. Kevin Aaron 6 out of 15. Myself on 8, and then Dan on 11. So it's looking better than it was back when we were backing the Giants way too much at the beginning of the season, and watching Shane just slowly build his lead up. There we go. Kev, you are kicking us off. I think this might be one of the harder ones to predict out of anything we've had this season.
Yeah, so I've gone for a 21-17 Giants win because we can't have nice things and we won't end up with the first overall pick.
Aaron, you are up next.
Yeah, I think, again, I've been drinking some of Kev's Kool-Aid, so I'm on the same line. I think we're going to fuck it up and win 23-20.
Fair enough. One of my favourite actors once spoke about chaos theory in a film called Jurassic Park, about how there's nothing better than a bit of unpredictability just to make things even more interesting. So I'm not sure if that's unpredictable enough, but a 17-17 tie is what I'm going for, and I'm sticking with it.
Love it. What a great game of football to watch.
I mean, it's so good that we get extra of it. Extra.
It's a 9:05 kickoff as well.
Dan obviously is up next. He's not here tonight. He has set in his prediction, and his isn't far off mine, to be honest. He's gone for a Raiders win, 17-14. So
that's the three of us got Raiders scoring 17 points.
I mean, three of us. I say three of us. I think it was Aaron, Shane, and Dan all had the exact same score last week. Yeah. So obviously there's something in the water at the moment. The big man, big dog, man at the top of the table. Which way is he going?
I've said all. I've said all season. I do not trust this fucking team. I do not trust them. I come close to the other week when they played Washington, and I said I really fancy the Giants to get a win, but I don't trust them. So I also don't trust them this week. I do not trust them to get that number one fucking pick. There's one thing the New York Giants like to do, it's fucking piss me right off. So they're going to piss me off. They're going to ruin my Christmas. They're going to take away the number one overall pick, and they're going to fucking win 17-13 just to like go, you know what? Fuck you, Shane.
Dan's lone wolfing it. Who would have thought it?
I mean, he's half lone wolfing it.
Yeah.
I guess I kind of maybe count as a werewolf.
So about 10 seconds before I sent you my prediction, I had 2020 written down. I went, don't be silly.
Well, you were the only person to predict a tie at the beginning of the season when we were doing our record predictions. So.
Yeah, but I also said it would be 8-8-1.
All right.
That's
fair. That's a
I
fair
will
point.
say that I genuinely hope any of our listeners and viewers are not in a fantasy playoff final and going up against Ashton Genty this week. Because if you are, you probably ain't going to win your final.
Yeah. Well, I think that's probably the weirdest collection of results we've got this season. I mean, obviously, a tie doesn't. I think actually, Shane, didn't you have a 0-0 at some point earlier on in the year, or was that last year?
I think that was last year when I just went mental with some predictions.
You have 100-0 as well.
Yeah. I had. I that was how fed up I was of this team. I was just like, I'm bombing the predictions.
So you genuinely think we're not going to equal our 10 game and then beat our 10-game losing streak?
No, because they're going to fuck it up. They win. If they don't win this week, they beat Dallas. They are going to fuck this up. The New York Giants don't know how to do anything else other than fuck things up.
So we've had some interesting ones in the comments as well. Keith saying, I'm hoping we throw a spanner into the track and derail the tank train. 21-14. Keith Falconer has gone for 5-2. So 2 safeties and a field goal, I think. That's the Raiders to win 5-2. Holty's gone for Pirates 24, Clowns 14, which I'm assuming is Raiders 24, Giants 14. And our other Steve has gone for 24-10 to the Raiders. So the predictions are all over the shop this week. Absolutely all over the shop. It's just so difficult to see Shane with a Giants logo underneath. It's really screwing with my equilibrium. Like I can't get my head around it.
I don't trust the Giants. I trust the Raiders even fucking less, to be perfectly honest with you. They are fucking horrendous. Look, if we lose this weekend, this could be the worst defeat we've ever had, in my opinion, my time as a fan, because the Raiders are fucking dog shit, man. The Raiders are truly awful. I was on nights the other week when the Broncos played the Raiders, and I was like, "Oh yeah, Thursday night football." Oh god, I turned it off halfway through the second quarter. It was fucking atrocious. I was like, I'd rather do work.
It's disgusting what it is. Get back on the train, Shane. Is this
Holty? You sat. They're gonna fuck this up. They do nothing other than fuck it up.
He's ahead on the final lap and slowing down, waving at the crowd.
I just know what's coming. Why get myself worked up over it and annoyed the weekend when I could just sit there and go, "Told you, called it, fucking nailed it."
Meanwhile, when the Giants blow, they're leading 30-0 into the fourth quarter and blow the lead. Shane is there doing laps of the garden, having because we've blown a 30-0 lead in the fourth quarter.
There's black and silver on.
Off my tits.
1 a.m. Monday morning on the 29th, just doing knee slides on the on the front lawn. On that mental note, that's all we have time for this week. We will be back on Tuesday for our review. Anything to add before we go?
I'm not on Tuesday. Oh no, I might be actually. I don't know. I need to have a look. But if I am, silver tinfoil hats at the ready. I'll come up with something else.
Especially if Roger Goodell is spotted.
Roger Goodell's there on Sunday. Man,
We're on Roger watch on Sunday, are we?
I'll find his email address on the internet and email him. Be like, Roger, what's going on, bro?
Shane's going to be doing his Joaquin Phoenix cosplay from Signs on Tuesday.
You know what they need to do on Sunday. Actually, you need to get in touch with the NFL Network. We need Goodell cam. We need someone to spot Roger Goodell at the game. It'll be more interesting than the actual game, to be honest with you.
Is this the new version of the Taylor Swift cam?
Yeah.
But more interesting.
The Goodell cam.
Kev, anything to add?
No, just good to get on, lads. Get the old therapy session going. It's weird watching the games now. Wanting a weird outcome. I mean, like, I kind of was watching the game last night. A little numb, a little like, what's good for long term? What's good for short term? Do I want to see us play really well and then just lose at the end to keep the old tank train running? Or I don't know. It is a weird time at the moment. But here, we'll be back next Tuesday to talk about it.
Aaron?
Not a lot for me. Just remember, like the stream if you want Joe Shane to be fired.
I mean, it worked. It did work.
Like, where's the like button?
It is working. We had quite a lot of likes on the episode last week, so there we go. As always, remember to like this video, subscribe to us on YouTube. God, I'm yawning already. You can hit the bell to be notified of when we're live. If you aren't already, follow us on the socials down below, and please do rate us on your podcast platform of choice. 5 stars. Thank you very much. My thanks go to Kev, to Shane, and to Aaron for joining me. To all of you watching or listening, have a great Christmas. Forget about the Giants. Don't pay attention. Try and enjoy your Christmas, and then let them ruin the bit in between. We're signing off until next time. Let's go Giants.